Okay, so get this right. Like, imagine a magazine back in the 1970s, and it's like this giant family reunion celebrating cultural diversity.
Wow.
It actually existed. It was called Living Together, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. The legacy of John R. Lindsay Jr., the national sales director for the magazine. And you're going to be surprised at just how much his vision still matters, like even today.
Yeah, it's fascinating how much Living Together really kind of stands out when you think about 1970s America, you know? Like, the civil rights movement had just pushed all these conversations about representation, like, right to the front, and here's this magazine, right? Dedicated to celebrating all these different cultural identities, Black, Spanish-speaking, American, Indian, Asian communities, all at once.
Yeah, and it really wasn't just about giving these communities, like, a voice.
Yeah.
You know, it was about showcasing their pride and their unique experiences in a way that, like, actually challenged stereotypes.
Yeah.
I mean, they even called themselves a mirror of justifiable pride in one's ethnic heritage. And that's powerful stuff.
Absolutely, and what's really striking is how they used visuals to achieve that, you know?
Right.
Think about it, like you open the magazine, and you see this photograph of a Black woman, bold and confident, just owning the page, right? And then you turn the page, and there's this young Asian woman in this really vibrant headscarf, and her eyes just filled with wisdom and strength. Like, these images weren't random, you know, they were deliberately chosen to really reflect, you know, the dignity and the diversity of the American experience.
It's true, and that was John R. Lindsay Jr.'s vision, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't just a sales director. You know, he was deeply passionate about the magazine's mission.
Yeah.
In fact, he once said, and I'm quoting here, that each image was chosen with care to reflect dignity, resilience, and the diversity of the American experience.
It's interesting here, right? Because Lindsay, he brought this really unique perspective to the magazine. You know, he wasn't just passionate about representation. He also understood the power of advertising.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like, remember, this was a time when advertising was just starting to become more sophisticated, and Lindsay, he was right there in the middle of it all.
Wow.
I mean, he was a pioneer in Chicago's advertising scene. He even worked on campaigns for companies like United Airlines.
So he had this incredible understanding of how to connect with audiences, how to tell a story visually, and how to use imagery to, like, really evoke emotion.
Right.
And he brought all of that to Living Together. I mean, it wasn't just about, like, selling magazines, you know, it was about selling this vision of America that was inclusive and diverse.
Exactly, and that vision was reflected not just in the magazine's content, but also in its reach. Living Together didn't just stay within, you know, the borders of the U.S. Yeah, it expanded, creating spin-offs like Living Together Asia and Living Together West Africa.
Okay, now the Living Together West Africa spin-off, particularly the focus on Nigeria, is really intriguing to me.
Right.
I mean, Nigeria has such a rich and complex history, and its connection to the diaspora is so significant.
Right.
It's like Lindsay's vision of cultural exchange and understanding was, like, expanding even further, right? Like, crossing continents, connecting people through these shared stories.
And what's really heartwarming, you know, is that his daughter is now involved in these spin-offs, carrying on his legacy. It speaks volumes about the impact Living Together had, and how its message of unity and representation, it still resonates even today.
It's amazing how, like, one magazine could have such a lasting impact.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the magazine, is it? It's about the stories it told, the people it featured, and the vision it presented. And one story that really stands out to me is about this African-American jazz musician who defied all odds, you know, to achieve international acclaim.
To achieve international acclaim.
Yeah.
Like, his story, it wasn't just about the music, you know?
Right.
It was about resilience, about the triumph of culture over adversity.
Yeah.
And for me, that's really what Living Together was all about, you know?
Yeah.
Showcasing those universal themes that connect us all, regardless of our background.
Yeah, it's incredible to think that Living Together was doing all of this during a time when, like, the very idea of diversity and inclusion was still being debated. You know?
Yeah, it really is. And what's even more remarkable is that Living Together, it didn't just highlight the struggles faced by marginalized communities. It celebrated their achievements, you know, their traditions, and their contributions to society. It was like this really powerful counter narrative to the dominant narratives of the time.
Like they were saying, look, we're not just here to talk about problems. We're here to celebrate our cultures, our identities, the beauty of our differences. And they did it in a way that was both like informative and engaging. I mean, remember they covered everything from traditional recipes and cultural practices to in-depth profiles of inspiring individuals who were making a difference in their communities.
Yeah, those profiles are really a treasure trove of stories. You know, I'm particularly fascinated by the one about the young Latina activist who was fighting for educational equality.
Oh yeah.
Like her story, it really highlights the power of one person to make a real impact, you know?
Right, and it wasn't just about her personal journey, right?
Yeah.
It was about this broader movement for social justice and the importance of raising awareness about issues that were like often overlooked.
What's striking is that Living Together, it didn't just present these stories passively.
Right.
It encouraged readers to get involved, to stand up for what they believed in and to make their voices heard. It was like a call to action, you know, like urging people to embrace their heritage and work towards a more just and equitable society.
Yeah, and that message continues to resonate even today. I mean, in a world that often feels increasingly divided, Living Together reminds us of the importance of unity and understanding.
It's like a blueprint for how we can build bridges across cultures and create a more inclusive world. And it all goes back to John R. Lindsay Jr.'s vision. You know, I mean, remember, he was deeply embedded in the advertising world.
Right.
A world that often prioritizes profit over purpose.
Yeah.
Yet he saw the potential for advertising to be a force for good, to promote a message of unity and inclusivity.
It's fascinating to think about how his experiences in advertising shaped his approach to living together, right? Like he understood the power of visuals, the importance of storytelling, and the need to connect with audiences on an emotional level.
Right.
And he brought all of that to the magazine.
And I think that's what makes Living Together so special. It wasn't just a magazine. It was like a movement. It was a reflection of Lindsay's belief that we can create a better world by celebrating our differences and finding common ground in our shared humanity.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the impact of living together, but as we kind of wrap up our deep dive, I'm curious, like what stands out to you as the most important takeaway from Lindsay's legacy? What's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with?
That's a great question. For me, it's the power of representation. Living Together showed us that when people see themselves reflected in media, you know, in stories, in art, it validates their experiences and makes them feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
You know?
And that feeling of being seen and heard can be like so transformative.
It can be.
It can empower individuals, build communities, and contribute to a more just and inclusive society.
Absolutely. So as we move forward, let's all strive to create spaces where everyone feels represented and valued, you know, just like Living Together did all those years ago.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the legacy of John R. Lindsay Jr. and Living Together. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been a pleasure, but before we go, I think it's worth reflecting on the ripple effect Living Together created. It's like dropping a pebble in a pond. You know, the impact just keeps spreading outward.
You know, it's true. Living Together really challenged like the very idea of what a magazine could be. You know, it wasn't just a collection of articles. It was a platform for social change, a catalyst for conversations about diversity and inclusion.
They pushed boundaries, that's for sure. At a time when, you know, mainstream media largely ignored or misrepresented marginalized communities, you know, Living Together boldly declared that these stories matter and deserve to be told authentically.
And they didn't just like tell those stories, right? They celebrated them.
They did.
They showcased the beauty, the resilience, and the creativity of these communities with such passion and conviction.
It was as if they were, you know, holding up a mirror to society and saying, look at the richness and diversity all around us. Let's embrace it. Let's learn from it, and let's grow together.
Yeah, and that message clearly resonated with readers.
Yeah.
Right? People felt seen, validated, and like they finally belonged. It's amazing how how one magazine could have such a profound impact.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of storytelling and amplifying diverse voices.
It does. It also serves as a powerful reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive and equitable world.
Yeah.
You know, we can all be storytellers. We can all be advocates and contribute to the legacy of living together.
Absolutely. Whether it's supporting organizations that champion diversity, sharing stories from underrepresented communities, or simply having, open and honest conversations about these important issues, like, we can all make a difference.
I think that's the key takeaway here. John R. Lindsay Jr. through Living Together, he showed us the transformative power of representation and inclusivity. He blended his expertise in advertising with a genuine passion for social change and created something truly remarkable.
And as we move forward, let's remember those lessons from Living Together. Let's embrace our differences, celebrate our shared humanity, and strive to create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.
Beautifully said. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the legacy of John R. Lindsay Jr. and Living Together. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure sharing this exploration with you. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep the conversation going.